Hi, I'm Jeff the Junk Seller, and this presentation is going to be about a postcard and a postmark. The postcard itself is probably worth $2 to $4 just because of its age, and it's a California card. Um, Not really a scarce one, but the postmark on it makes a card worth about 650, maybe even $750. Now I got this card. I bought it in a collection. I believe got it in the stamp collection that I bought at Colonel Dick's Flea Market in Norman, Oklahoma. I believe I paid $300 or $350 for this stamp collection, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And I didn't know at the time. I just knew that it had some really weird material, and I didn't make a whole lot of money back on that collection. I've made some sales out of it, but not nearly enough to pay for the collection. But I pulled some pieces out and put them away to be investigated further, and just never got around to it. And during COVID, when the lockdown was happening and I didn't have anything to do, I went into my storage unit and pulled out a box of postcards that I'd put up to be investigated further, and I rediscovered this card that I owned. And I'm not even sure that I got it from that collection, but anyway, I learned a lot between the time that it was put up and the time that I rediscovered it. And as soon as I found it, I knew that I was onto something pretty special. I knew it was valuable. I really didn't comprehend just how valuable it was. But I queried, the aviation station in Sacramento, California, and it took me to Robert Siegel Postal Gallery. It's a high-end stamp collecting auction service that's been around since probably the 30s, sometime in the 30s. And they had several of them listed. Now, I learned about a group called the American Airmail Society. And Siegel quoted them as saying that there were only 40 of these known in existence. This one being flown on the second day by Glenn Martin. If I hadn't already said this before, it was a 2-day meet, and there were two flyers. The first day was Phil Parmalee. He was a Wright Brothers trained pilot, and he was the first person to ever fly a parcel for pay. So he is known somewhat as the father of airmail. And the second day it was flown by Martin. And that's noted on the back of the card in the writing that the sender put on it. But this card, I've had it on display a couple of times at several different sales. And I've probably put it out 20 or 30 times. I've had it on display. And only twice has anybody ever recognized what it was. And one time I was down at Warrenton, Texas, and a guy came along and he was just mesmerized by it. He didn't believe that it was real when he first saw it. And he was a pioneer airmail collector. And I told him I wanted $600 for it. He just couldn't bring himself to buy it. He was also a bargain hunter, and but he didn't believe that he'd ever find one in the wild. And he pretty much confirmed the statement that there's only 40 of them in existence. But he had some other even rarer material, so he wasn't all that excited about that aspect of it. But last week I was at Setup at Canton, and I met a guy. He was a specialist. He was buying some coins from me to start his son off in coin collecting, and he introduced himself. He said he was a specialist in the 1 and 2 cent Lincoln and Franklin stamps, which is where a lot of people bow out of even being stamp collectors. It just gets so technical, so forensic. But I wound up showing this to him. I had to go dig it out of the van, and he was the second person that understood what this was, and that it was actually a pretty incredible piece. He said that he thought he'd never seen one in the wild either. But I wanted to make this presentation because anybody that's out there picking needs to know that if you see something that's odd, if it's too peculiar, if it just seems strange, it might be worth having. Set it aside, especially if it comes cheap. Set it aside until you can learn more about it. Otherwise, this card, I have had it out before, and I was offered 20 or $25 from a guy. He told me that was the best I was ever going to get out of it. Told me I was at a flea market and that it wouldn't sell for any more than $100. And I told him that I just really didn't care, And with this card, I think that I got some other Pioneer airmail. I think that I had one from Dubuque, Iowa. It was a magenta stamp. Didn't say anything other than this parcel was flown on an aeroplane. AEROPLANE. That's how they spelled it. Then and I think it was a 1912 or 1913 cancellation. Had the regular cancellation for the post office, and then had this magenta stamp added to it. And I really didn't think that was all that important, but later I learned that it's maybe $150, $200 just for that stamp, and anybody would know that's involved in it would know that this parcel was flown in an aeroplane. That additional stamping um, coincided with whatever the postmark, the regular postmark was, the date on it. So I probably gave away some value without following my own rule about going in and doing the research before I let something go. I think I probably sold that for $5 or $10. I'm not even sure, but it's one of those things that I regret. That $5 or $10. I'd rather not have it. I'd rather have the postmark. But anyway, if you enjoyed this presentation, please give it a like. If you view some of the other content and you appreciate it, please get subscribe. And thank you for viewing.